Business Review, a daily program that delves into the latest and most significant economic stories. From stock markets to currency news, Business Review covers the most up-to-date stories in the global financial world.
After a drop in deaths in France, European stock market finished higher on Tuesday and Wall Street as well, where it climbed sharply in mid-session as the coronavirus pandemic seems to be showing some signs of weakness. This comes after French Minister of Economy and Finance said the French economy will suffer its worst economic crash since 1945, where he expected a market drop of almost 3%.
The crisis is global. No country will be spared. No continent will be spared. The virus has no borders. Value chains are completely interlinked, and our economies are dependent on each other. Just as economic growth was global yesterday, the economic crisis will be global tomorrow.
In Paris, the CAC 40 gained 4.61 percentage points in its strongest daily increase since March 24th, and the Euro STOXX 50 index advanced by 5.17%. European investors have regained a taste for risky assets thanks to signs of improvement in the health situation. In an interview on France 2, Minister Bruno Le Maire has called out European countries to unite and create a unified fund program to save the European Union, otherwise it will crash.
Today we have two big economic models that coexist. We have the globalization model that is hugely affected by the coronavirus pandemic. The other model consists of local initiatives that attempt to limit the control of globalization on private and small startups. For example, there are so many companies in France that emerged in recent years.
France's finance minister believes that the market performance depends mainly on the speed at which economic activity can normalize and restore itself quickly again in these hard times.
This is Farah Al-Hashim reporting for the Business Review, KTV2, from the Champs-Élysées, Paris.
U.S. dairy farmers are dumping milk down the drain as the coronavirus pandemic and widespread stay-at-home orders upend the flow from farm to market. Despite strong demand for basic foods like dairy products amid the coronavirus pandemic, the milk supply chain has seen a host of disruptions that are preventing dairy farmers from getting their products to the market. Mass closures of restaurants and schools have forced a sudden shift from those wholesale food service markets to retail grocery stores, creating logistical and packaging nightmares for plants processing milk, butter, and cheese. Trucking companies that haul dairy products are scrambling to get enough drivers, as some who fear the virus have stopped working, and sales to major dairy export markets have dried up as the food service sector largely shuts down globally. The dairy industry's woes signal broader problems in the global food supply chain, according to farmers, agricultural economists, and food distributors. The dairy business got hit harder and earlier than other agricultural commodities because the products are highly perishable. Milk can't be frozen like meat or stuck in a silo like grain. The dumping comes even as consumer demand for dairy has soared. Panic buying has left grocery shelves nearly empty in recent weeks amid shutdowns and quarantines nationwide. Retail purchases of milk rose nearly 53% for the week ending on March the 21st, while butter sales surged more than 127% and cheese rose more than 84% compared to the same period a year earlier, according to Nielsen data. Grocers have been charging consumers more too. The average retail price of cow's milk was up 11.2% for the week ending March the 21st compared to a year earlier. That's also according to Nielsen data. Finding enough truck drivers is also part of the challenge. Agriculture groups have lobbied states to increase truck weight limits on highways to enable more food to be delivered.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Russia was ready for deep oil production cuts with the United States and OPEC, while Energy Ministry Alexander Novak firmly put the blame for the collapse in oil prices on OPEC's de facto leader, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Putin, speaking in a televised video conference with Russian government officials and domestic oil producers, proposed to cut combined oil production by around 10 million barrels per day, or around 10% of global output. Oil prices hit an 18-year low following the failure of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and other large oil producers, led by Russia, a grouping known as OPEC Plus, to extend their deal on output caps last month. Ahead of the April 6th meeting, Putin also said Russia was ready for cooperation with the United States, the world's largest oil producer, which is not part of the OPEC Plus group. The Russian president said that Moscow was comfortable with an oil price of $42 per barrel, adding that any output cuts should be made from first quarter levels.
As the coronavirus outbreak continues to ebb in the central Chinese city of Wuhan, once the epicenter of the epidemic in China, local businesses are starting to reopen gradually, and local residents finally have a chance to do outdoor activities after more than 2 months in lockdown. As the positive news that the lockdown of Wuhan will officially be lifted on April the 8th, it's bringing new hope to the people of Wuhan, and more businesses continue to reopen. The city is gradually seeing increased traffic flow and customers. One particular area, Han Street, a shopping street popular among young people, has already started welcoming the crowd back, despite having implemented several safety procedures. Customers are requested to wear masks, scan a health code, get their body temperature checked, and sanitize their hands before being allowed to access to the street and shops. With shoppers starting to come back and business resuming, the shops were also quick to plan and prepare for their spring sales and welcome their customers by cleaning store facades or simply putting giant banners saying "We are back." As most people forced to stay indoors during the epidemic, catering businesses throughout the country used to be hard hit, but the food street now has quite a crowd at noon, with customers queuing up to buy takeout meals as more restaurants haven't officially opened dine-in service. The city has been in lockdown for more than 2 months in an unprecedented bid to contain the fast-spreading virus.
Britain's opposition Labour Party is to elect a successor to leftist Jeremy Corbyn. His Brexit policy chief Keir Starmer is way ahead in polls, but he's likely to inherit a deeply divided party. A fresh start after a crushing electoral defeat, Britain's opposition Labour Party elects a new leader on April 4th to take over from veteran socialist Jeremy Corbyn, who pulled the party sharply to the left to the fury of centrists. Corbyn's Brexit chief Keir Starmer is frontrunner to take the helm of a party bitterly divided on how to carry out Brexit, accusations of anti-Semitism within its ranks, and how left-wing the party should be. It's been a quiet and overshadowed campaign since Britain entered a lockdown that has prompted Boris Johnson's Conservatives to veer into traditional Labour territory, turning on the spending taps and ending years of austerity. Starmer, who wants to woo Corbyn supporters and centrists alike, is way ahead in polls and may not even need a second round. Behind him are Rebecca Long-Bailey, following in Corbyn's footsteps, and third-placed Lisa Nandy. They all have videoed victory speeches with the usual live events covered. Labour's more than 500,000 members, trade union affiliates, and registered supporters get to choose. Starmer is a former director of public prosecutions who was knighted for his services to law and criminal justice, and he's expected to steer a pro-EU stance. perhaps bringing back free movement for the bloc's citizens. But some of Corbynn's backers fear he'll also come under pressure to move the party to the centre ground, closer to the Labour Tony Blair led for a decade.
This has been Business Review, your daily source for the most critical stories in the financial world. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.